kalikasan. Halika na totoo sa kalikasan at kapwa-tao. Isa buhay natin ito. Kung alam, sugan pangkalikasan, kumalakas.
Mrs. Premier. Palagi nandiyan yan. Mrs. Premier. Okay, pleasant morning. Pleasant Saturday to everybody again, and I, yung Mother's Day impact hanggang ngayon, people are still thinking about it. Last
Oo.
weekend na yan.
May
But syempre,
hangover.
special. Special ang mga ina. Diba? So, to everybody, again, we have a special guest this morning before anything else, and it's Chef Christine.
Yes.
It's good to be back.
And
Kasi lang naman.
sitting kasi si Tita Marisa
Oo, yes.
has a Zoom for the next 4
May
weekends.
webinar
May
siya.
webinar siya kailangan niyang i-attend, and she won't be with us. But sabi nga namin, sige, gawa tayo ng video. And just so that you won't be missed anyway. Diba? Mga ganyan yan. So you won't be missed. But anyway, let us continue on our discussion of last week. But before that, alam nyo, one thing nakikita natin that the pandemic is not at any way subsiding, but there's more things that we are seeing, the changes that are taking place in countries like India, and sooner or later, yung mga katabing countries niya, yung mga Pakistan and
Nepal.
Nepal,
Oo.
Bangladesh, I think they will see it, their way. And in India, it's going to the rural areas already.
Oh,
When you hear
yes.
about the rural areas getting impact by it, that's where the concern begins, simply because the medical system is not set up as in the urban. Plus another one is, when the rural community is affected, I see the rural community are more or less the community that's exposed to the natural environment. They are meant to have a stronger immune system, simply because the food is closer to them, their environment is much better. Pero kung nakikita na natin yung impact sa rural areas, katulad dito sa Pilipinas, we see that the epicenters are always in the urban center. And it's obvious because the environment of the urban is very artificial. From food is delivered to them, water is delivered to them. Their environment is very much exposed to, pollutants. The quality of air inside and outside of the home is compromised. Maraming ganun na factors. And this affects the immunity of every individual. Now, in the rural areas, there's always a chance that they should be a lot stronger, simply because they're more exposed to the natural elements. Naaarawan sila,
Oo.
nakakalakad-lakad sila. Alam nyo, ngunit ang ating tingnan na talakayan na minsan kadalasan yung baka yung kinakain na rin.
Oo. At saka minsan din yung setup sa rural, magkakasama sila usually in a
sityo.
very
Nakasityos pa rin
close,
sila.
at saka pati sa bahay, minsan isang bedroom lang.
Yeah.
Hindi ba? They don't have
Kasi-
separate bathrooms, mga ganun.
Especially
Very
those in the
communal.
more marginalized communities.
Oo.
But yet, and this is an irony right now, simply because even in the rural areas, when a strong component of the natural resources or nature, like before, you have community forests, di ba? That community forest supplies you most of your needs, from housing to food to water.
Mhm.
Ngayon, many of these community forests, kumbaga na degraded na rin siya.
Oo.
So that means the quality of life has also been impacted.
Kahit naman sa India, ginagamit na yung firewood, ang dami for the burning bodies, hindi ba? Cremations.
So anyway, before we go and discuss regarding, how to boost our immune system, there's a question
From
na
last week.
from last week
Oo.
na gusto natin talakayin. The question was, some people are pushing for racial profilings. So respect and status in society is based on ethnic origins, color of skin, race. They are basing this on scientific or genetic engineering. How can we defeat this opinion scientifically? Well, a lot of this genetic engineering, if you look at it, got all started in the last 100 years. di ba? And to the point that this was embraced by many leaderships, people who are infamous,
Oo.
who thought
Like who?
genetic race or having a better
Purity of race
purity
daw.
of race, and,
Diba? Better, higher race. Oo.
it's a different genetic makeup, di ba?
Oo.
May mga ganon. Kasi the issues then, you have to understand, you have to always look at history. Like now, history is repeating itself in relation to the pandemic. But in the early
yes.
1919, just right after the World War I, if you know your history well, di ba, many of those soldiers who fought in Europe, heading home back to the US, brought the flu virus with them.
Okay.
Yun yung unang pandemic. And they were going home, traveling in their ships together, all patong-patong sila sa mga barko, nagkakasakit sila. Pagdating nila sa New York, yung mga lugar na ganyan, yung mga kung saan sila nagdi-disembark, yun, kumakalat na kagad yung sakit.
So really, it's travel, no? Yung
Yes, it is
international
all
travel.
about the travel.
Oo.
And during those days, there was no, kasi alam mo yung mga sundalo, very eager to come home. Nabuhay sila sa gera, tapos namatay sila dahil sa pandemya. That was the first major flu that hit the Western Hemisphere.
Oo.
So you see, it's repeating itself, but all it has to do is with travel. Now, with regards to the ethnic stuff and genetic, and basing on improving the race, because of all of the difficulties that they were faced with, tinitingnan din nila yan yung mga thinkers noong time na yun Ba't ba tayo madaling magkasakit? Pwede ba tayo maging matibay yung race natin na hindi tayo naapektuhan ng mga ganitong uring pandemya? May ganyan yan May lalim yun
Oo. Ano naman conclusion nila? Sino mas
Kasi isa yun.
matibay, yung puti o yung ano?
Yun ang ginagawa nila. Kaya kailangan i-ethnic cleansing natin ng mga sarili natin. Linisan natin. It's this mixing of different ethnic races. In many places in Europe, you go to France, it's all mixed Maraming Middle East. Di ba? But nakita mo yung medyo, they're quite very restrictive din sila. It's not being shown, but you have those type of racial discrimination taking place. Even today, you can see it.
Oo.
Issues in UK, tapos amongst the disagreements among the EU countries.
Oo.
Sino tatanggapin namin? Ayaw namin ng ganyan sa amin. Yung mga ganon. Tapos when you say in America naman, they would say, the race, the Mexicans, the Asians, di ba? Maraming ganon. The Latin Americans, di ba? Ang daming ganon. But they're saying, let's control the borders. We'll only accept this much. But when you have places in Europe naman, di ba? Like Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia, those Serbia now. Tingnan mo sila, nagke-cleanse sila ng sarili nila.
Oo nga. Oo.
Okay, these are the offshoots. Part of the consciousness and the mentality of people, the thinkers who are looking at this way, has to do with coming up with a stronger race.
But also, their perception is that itong race na ito, yung mga matangos ang ilong, matangkad, maputi yung skin, to them that is more beautiful. Not just yung physical strength, pero kasi yung mga Vikings, yung mga from Europe, malalaki yung mga katawan din. But pati yung beauty, they consider na mas inferior yung mga dark-skinned and may curly hair. So that has been like their perception. Ayaw nilang mahaluan. Di ba
Ng
nga,
ibang race.
yung basta royal family,
Yes.
sinabi daw kung si Archie ay lalabas kung ano daw yung kulay ng skin. It was a concern, no? So basically, they're all looking at it from a very physical level, hindi ba? Yung appearance lang ng katawan, hindi ba?
Yeah, it all is again is based on no matter how you look at the genetic makeups of what the human form is. Siguro iba dalawa kaya ang puso nila. Ganun. Pag medyo superior ka or baka mas malaki yung organ nila na ganito or yes, baka lumalaki lang yung organ dahil sa maling dieta. Yung mga ganun baga, nakakaproblema. But the point is, structurally, in the design of the human form of life is basically the same for everybody.
Oo,
Mm.
oo.
There's no differences. Kunyari, kung may mga naging issue man, it has to do with, parang lack of genes during a process, during the reproductive time. Nagkakaroon ng problema. Hindi ba nakikita natin nangyayari yan yung mga pinapanganak na minsan bulag, may mga problema na sa katawan nila. And many of times, you cannot just say, pagkukulang kagad yun kasi hindi naman marami. Pa isa-isa lang sa pamilya o pa inuulit after 3 generations, nagkakaroon ng gano'n na issue. So it's a matter of balancing things a bit. Or there are places where kakaunti rin ang tao. Hindi ba? Sa mga tribal areas, nung araw, ganyan they were very strict with it. They were very aware. Who's intermarrying? Hindi ba? Yung mga ganun yun It has to do just so that the genetic stuff doesn't falter eventually. Di ba? But if you're talking about who's stronger, who's got a stronger gene, okay, you always go back to, kaya nga minsan sinasabi natin the more purity of native system mo, di ba? You can withstand the changes that goes on. Di ba, formerly in history, if you guys know about the story of the Hawaiian race, or even in many countries that were hardly visited, they were isolated, di ba? Even in Australia, before the colonizers arrived there, many of the tribal areas never, sa vocabulary nila, walang word disease. Sa Hawaii, ganun, mga Hawaiian culture. I was studying their culture.
Oo.
Earlier in my life, I was reading about how hindi nila alam yung sakit. Long-lived sila, malalakas sila, pero nagkaka-issue sila sa health nila due to certain birth defects lang. Pero pagdating sa overall health ng kanilang society, there was no such thing as disease dun sa kanilang linggo.
Yes. Oo.
They die of old age.
So basically, malakas naman yung mga tao kahit hindi natin pakialaman yung mga genes. As long as they have a good
Kasi
lifestyle, hindi ba?
we cannot tinker with this.
Oo.
It was designed. We as
Oo.
human beings, we should not be arrogant. This is the arrogance in men.
Mm-mm.
When we start to think, we tinker with this. We know what's better. We know which will work. And this is where the problem is. And people begin to think in that type of consciousness. Na, I'm going to have to, maybe we should clean this out, get rid of them, make the kaya nga may minority and majority. In the US, they have issues today due to races because in the 1950, right after the war, when they had their election, only, if I'm right, but this was 9% of the voters were colored in skin, minority.
Oo.
And the rest were all white. In the recent election, I think it's more like 55% ang puti. The rest, ang dami nang nagmix. Iba-iba ng race. Asian, African, Europeans, Mexican, yung mga ganun. So, dito sila they're struggling with it now. That's why there's a lot of racial issues in America today. Because nakita nila, nag-change yung dynamics yung mga minorities dati is becoming a stronger force today with numbers and who are demanding for the same equal rights. Okay, similarly in the Philippines, we have issues like this too. Marami. Okay, but anyway, this
Well,
is something that
basically, ang value naman ng person is not their physical strength or their
Race.
mental race or yung contribution nila to economy or society physically, but basically we give value to each individual, no matter what their appearance is, outside appearance, because they are spiritual beings,
By
we're all
nature.
brothers and sisters. Magkaiba lang yung kulay ng skin natin, pero basically, we're all relatives, So, yung respect nga is still there, and we value each person, no matter what. Kung ano may defect mang yung body niya or perfect.
yeah, on the end of the
Oo.
day, the food you eat, it
Mm-mm.
goes through the same process.
Oo.
No body is a special body. It's all created in equals. Pag nagkaroon man ng issue, ang sakit and other things, pag sa dating sa design, wag lang na talaga may, there's some issues during yung process of reproduction.
Mm.
And, generally, we're all the same if you're looking at the body.
Oo.
Iba lang ang color ng skin.
Oo.
Even the pandemic na, the virus doesn't choose any race.
Oo
All
nga.
right. Exactly.
It
Tatamaan
affects
lahat.
everyone.
Exactly.
Mayaman, mahirap.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Anong country.
Yeah. It became that in itself is a very clear point.
Mm-mm.
The virus doesn't pick whether I think I'll just go to this guy, weaker yung immune system, or I mean, in the beginning, sino nag-uunahan sa daming nagkasakit? America was on the front line,
Mm-mm. Sila,
supposedly they're very
pinakamarami.
advanced sila sa pagdating sa medical sa mundo. Europe is the same thing.
At saka hindi lang pati sa so-called lifestyle, kasi they have so much food, they have so much medicines and vitamins and supplements, gyms, everything.
Everything, all the best facilities any community will need.
Mm.
Kumbaga, it's an enviable situation, but yet you find that during a pandemic, no race, no proof of race said that hindi kami tatalaban.
Mm-mm. Correct.
All right?
Oo.
So,
Okay. So shall we, thank you very much for...
let's greet everybody first, okay? Good morning, Myra Muriel. Okay, then Kalindi, Milay. Good morning again to all of you. Gemini Rose, Thomas of Angeles City, and then definitely Rosalinda of Okinawa. Yeah,
Yeah, and my Nigo tribe.
La Union.
Agnes Bibal. Hi, Agnes. And Vina Pascua, Mary Salazar. And Marilu Galang. Adilila Satore from Maayong Buntag rin sa iyo. Cynthia Silvestre.
And
Gemini Rose.
And ito yung stepsister ko, yung pamilya niya, si Didit and si Gerard Sanchez. Take care kayo rin dyan sa Manila.
ingat pa rin kayo at they're loosening up, yeah.
Sabi ni Didit sa akin, she tunes into our radio show because she learns a lot of things now. Marami siyang nadadampot na kaalaman. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Sige. So, I want to hear from Chef Chris here.
Yeah.
In regards to, the main topic for today is, this is we have promoted the last week is, we're dealing with boosting the immune system, Ayun, nabanggit nga natin No race is special pagdating sa lakas ng katawan, no matter how powerful or rich your country may be, and with best facility, with Medicare, and with so much wealth. But yet you will find people to struggle with their bodies and their mind. May mga ganyan yan But when we talk about the our boosting our immune system, there are other facets to these things. Why? It's not just merely the body that you're looking at. You know that?
Tsaka it's not also vaccination that's the only
Yes.
solution.
Yeah, you don't rely on that.
Oo.
So a component of this, let's say that, in the past we've talked about diet, good diet, clean air, an ideal environment, di ba? Then you exercise. Then there's the social component. Those individuals who are very much, they have a very positive outlook in things. Even if you grow old, your body grows old. For as long as you're looking into being active, it changes the dynamics in the way you live your life. So what it points to is that many times when we live with a deeper purpose and a meaning in our life, or we're engaged in activities are we engage in activity that gives us that satisfaction from within. Part of that can be caring for one another. When you start to care for one another, it involves many components of caring. Tama?
Mm-mm.
Right?
Yes.
Diba? So let's begin with, okay, with regards to eating food. We all know that during this pandemic, we have been exposed to many, even the food you eat, with good intents, community pantry, so much food being donated coming in to help the communities eat. One thing nice about it is there's a lot of color in the food that they're being fed.
Mm-mm. Natural.
Lumalabas
Hindi.
lahat ang gulay.
Lumalabas yung gulay.
Yes.
Parang dumadami yung gulay sa... Tingnan niyo yung surveys, nakikita niyo.
Oo.
There's more fresh food than just mere canned foods.
Mm-mm.
Di ba kadalasan pagdating sa mga relief, kadalasan na dumadating, di ba sa atin, yung mga dilata at saka mga bigas.
Yes.
But nakikita niyo sa community pantry, uy, ang daming gulay.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Nice.
That's because people appreciate now, like when you're healthy, that's like a gift already during this season. So, I mean, there's no better time to make a healthy diet change than now. I mean, if you've been thinking about it, now is the time. And simple lang. I mean, the Philippines is gifted. It's gifted with a variety of fruits and vegetables. And all we need to do is, accept it. I mean, take whatever we can. Like what? We have all these fruits, papayas, and all. We gotta eat
So
like
blessed.
seasonal fruits.
Oo, ma'am.
Let's try to stay away from like imported stuff simply because the local foods, it has this power to it has all the nutrients from the
Yes.
sun and all, yeah.
Yes, grown locally.
Yeah.
That's why the idea. And we hope that this will be a part of our outlook, not just because there's a need to it, but future looking wise.
Yeah.
We have to go local, grow local,
Yeah.
eat local.
Yeah.
You know.
It's also part of the self-sufficiency. When you're growing your food in your area, then you're not dependent on, fruits coming from China or from some other countries because malapit lang nandyan lang pwedeng bilhin.
It's like we have, and there's another component to it. I was talking to a scientist friend the other day. He was one of the top rice scientists in the Philippines. He dealt with mainly native rice, native grains. That was his specialty. He retired recently, and we were exchanging notes during our discussion, and he was mentioning how one of the reasons why this COVID thing has to do with diversity of food, lack of food that is native to us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know anymore ano yung native na pagkain natin. Kaya yung mga kinakain natin, nabibilang natin yung uri ng variety o yung klase. Meaning, kung kahit sa gulay man, at least kung makulay yung pagkain mo sa gulay, may kalabasa ka, may sitaw ka, may, a variety of different type of food. You weave it. But there are other things that we miss out. We're missing out on, let's say, if you're growing food locally, anybody who makes an effort to grow food on your own, and who, you alam mo, masayang gawin yan eh. Having a garden is actually relaxing and you're holding.
Healing din.
Yeah.
Ano ba, energize din yung working
Alam
on
nyo,
the garden.
Alam nyo, you will end up doing things like, na may interest ka ngayon sa mga ano pang pagkain ang pwedeng tumubo sa lugar mo. na hindi mo binibili yung binhi.
Mm-mm.
Any gardener, anybody who's into it, will start to look into the different possibilities. Ang kagandahan niya, ito yung kagandahan naman yung sa mga rural community. Meron mga sinaunang pagkain na kinakain ng kanilang mga ninuno na nandyan pa rin sa palibot nila.
Mm.
You know, may mga ganon.
Yung ano nga, yung talilum, actually, wild lang siya, sumisibol everywhere. Tapos wala pang teste, di ba?
Yeah.
Si Pecha, if-fertilize mo pa siya, tapos kakainin ng bugs and everything. So it's very
See,
much more complicated.
You know, that's why when you grow local and you're very innovative or you share amongst one another and the members of the community, you look back to kasi when you are reliant on supply chains, pagdating sa seasonal changes that takes place, nagmamahal ang gulay mo o nagiging short yung supply. But if you calendar your actions of wherein you plot your food needs along the way based on seasonal changes, you will do your homework. This is for everybody. I'm sharing this information because, for example, where we live in the last 12 years, there's always so much, there's a wild petchay. Mukhang arugula yung itsura niya, pero wild petchay siya. Talbos ng kamote, technicolor. Iba-ibang uri. May manilaw nila, may green lang, may dark, may purple. Iba-iba yung klase niya.
Pula-pula.
So nakikita nyo, tapos sa malunggay, tapos sa gabi. Alam mo, then this becomes more interesting on your part. You start to see things, oh, but the key here is this. As this my scientist friend was saying, hindi natin tinatanaw yung ating mga native na pagkain. Nasanay na lang tayo sa kung ano ang tinatanim ng mga ibang mga magsasaka na umaasa na tayo.
Oo.
This type of action has to change in each of us. We have to go local. We have no choice if future-wise. Kasi supply chains have been disrupted severely by this pandemic. And you will find that because of climate change, what will grow west are the natives.
At saka Tito Toby, sinasabi rin ni Christine, when you mentioned calendaring, yung how you eat, she has a suggestion about yung preserving yung
Yes.
some of the foods to last you hanggang may rainy season. Meron ka pa rin veggies, hindi ba?
Kung kunyari, mura ngayon yung sitaw. Ang ganun. You can actually pickle it
Pickle.
para pagdating sa time na medyo mahal na yung mga gulay, then you have stocks.
Tsaka isa pang maganda yung kimchi, yung
Yes,
fermentation.
actually what's good also talaga to boost your immune system is fermented foods. Now you can easily make kimchi. There's a lot of videos online that you can check, paano ba gawin ito. At saka mura yung
Kimchi?
bombok ngayon,
Hindi ba Koreano yun?
but it's fermented. So it's good for gut health.
Or,
Actually, yung sila,
ano yung Philippine version? Yun ang gusto kong malaman. Kasi ako, Ilocano eh. So, meron kami suka Iloco. Gumawa ka ngayon ng pickles.
Pickled vegetables.
Yan, di ba? Kasi,
pickle mo yung okra.
Yes.
Sarap.
Mga
Ay, may
ganon.
labanos. At saka
Yes.
actually, pa yon yung ampalaya, masarap rin pickles yun.
Oo.
Actually, sinasabi kanina ni Christine about gut health.
Yes.
Bakit ba importante sa immune system yung gut
Mm-mm.
health?
Actually, yung gut health is where like 70% of your immune system is housed. Now, if that's healthy, if your gut is healthy, then your immune system is healthy as well. Kaya kailangan talaga, we should boost it with all these foods that are fighting all the infections and inflammations in the body. You can take turmeric, yung luyang dilaw.
Oh, yeah.
Marami naman ganun. So,
yan, talagang yan, native sa atin
yeah,
yan.
that's
Okay.
native. How will you take it? You can put it in your gata dishes, in your curries,
O
or
pwede nyo gawin siya.
tsaa.
Nice
Yes,
drink,
a lot of
diba?
people are into golden milk right now, and that's basically parang tsaa na may konting dairy or plant milk, and then you may cinnamon pa yun, may ginger. Ginger is also good. So may mga ganon na pwedeng pampaboost ng immune
Yeah,
system.
most root food are this way.
Yes.
Yun ang kagandahan niya. Even ginger, for example. Ito nga, just to share to everybody. Si Tita Marisa she's attending a nutrition on the ano to on traditional Chinese medicine na
Eastern medicine.
Eastern medicine and
Oo, oo.
nutrition. Yung how foods are warming, cooling, yung mga ganun ang course niya this next weekends. And I was overhearing it during the conversation of the main speaker. Pinipinpoint niya palagi. Kunyari, isang tao, nilalagnat, so mainit yung katawan, di ba? Fire. Huwag niyo bibigyan ng luya. Na siya, minsan kadalasan, sige, bigyan natin ng luya kasi parang yung pala, binigyan mo yung fire with fire. Mainit kasi yung pagkain
oo,
niya.
nag-init.
So,
Warming
dapat,
food yun.
pag nilalagnat, ang bigyan nyo, huwag niyo naman siyang bigyan ng mga food that is too cold. Kasi walang balance eh.
Yeah.
Pero bigyan niyo ng lugaw.
Ah.
Pero walang luya.
Ah.
Yung mga ganon. Kasi
Okay.
then it becomes kumbaga, balancing
Yeah.
ang mangyayari. So anyway,
Okay.
these are just one of those things that our audience should understand that, food is our medicine eh.
Pero habang may sakit, wala pang sakit, di
Huwag niyong
uminom-
hintayin kayo magkasakit.
uminom na ng
Oo.
mga tsaa, hindi ba,
Right.
na ginger, mga ganon, para din ma-build up na yung immunity.
Oh, Christine, what do you think? Chef, one issue is like this. Many of our children or the younger group have grown up eating chips or
Yes.
are used to the processed food. One of the most difficult things to change today by parents, as far as their children is concerned, is the acquired taste that the young generation has developed.
Yes.
But there's one thing though, many of the millennials now are also very choosy. If they have a choice of going plant-based or at least semi-plant-based, you see their interest is there. Then nakikita niya sa mga ibang restaurants ngayon,
Maraming options.
marami
na.
ng option. Ito yung kagandahan niya.
Eh di, syempre, napopromote. And sinasabi that even in Europe and other countries, they're already going plant-based na rin sa mga,
One
sa
of the
pagkain
top
na
chef,
ino-offer.
one of the top chefs in France,
Turn this whole business into
plant-based.
plant-based talaga.
Yeah.
Daming following yun worldwide. So this is something that is changing in our society because alalahanin natin, it's not only good for our body, but it's also good for the planet.
Yes. Oo, talaga.
Actually, our goal when it comes to nutrition is talagang to improve and also help. Kasi yung mga maano ngayon sa virus is when you have pre-existing conditions, right?
Mhm.
So what you want to do is improve it or even prevent all those symptoms. So how do you do that? Basically, through your diet.
Yeah.
Talagang diet talaga.
Kasi most of it is started with your diet or it's a lifestyle issue.
Yes.
Diet, no exercise.
No exercise, yeah.
No sunlight.
Mhm.
Or food like, when my scientist friend, we were exchanging notes, sabi ko, alam mo, kunyari, maani kami ng kamote ngayon. This purple kamote.
Mhm.
When I put the kamote on storage, pag ang isang pagkain, alam niya, hindi mabilis mabulok.
Mhm.
Kumbaga, yung integridad ng pagkain buong-buo kahit na mainit o wala siyang refrigeration. Ang natutunan ko sa mga katutubo, yung mga tribal practices was, leave the kamote in a dark area, find a dark, cool place in your house, ilagay mo siya sa lupa.
Sa lupa.
Ah.
Parang nakatanim na siya.
Pero hindi siya nakalubog. Sa ibabaw siya.
Sa ibabaw lang.
So ngayon, ang mangyari niyan, dahil walang araw, hindi lumalabas yung shoot. So, buhay siya, kumakapal lang yung balat. And tumatamis.
And it will last for how long?
It will last longer.
Oh.
That's why, and there's varieties of kamote, this type of food. Kaya ito yung sinasabi natin, or we're sharing this, because there are types of food that our minorities in our communities have sustained for so many generations. But, we forgot about it, or we're not eating it. Even in the rural areas, how common is kamote being eaten by the families. Ganon na yung consequences of a lifestyle that kind of didn't consider so many of what has been given us in the past
Mm-mm.
by our, mga ninuno natin, and what made them survive and live quality lives. Yun ang mga ganun yan eh.
Mm-mm.
So we have turned our backs on this information and put ourselves into eating only a certain limited number of food.
Mm-mm.
So because of that, the limitation of the nutrition that is coming in, the nutrient density, plus you have to consider most of the food, like here in our country, 97% of most food are grown with chemicals.
Yes. That's true.
This is a data that just came out. It was released by the Department of Agriculture 2 weeks ago.
Mm-mm.
You know,
Actually, ang kagandahan din ngayon sa pandemic that a lot of people are starting to plant then in their
Yes.
backyards. So now they learn how the food is grown,
Mm-mm.
you know what it needs. It needs it needs sun, it needs water, and
Mm.
syempre pinag-aaralan nila lang yung seasons din. What's a good
Oo.
time to plant this thing, yung mga
Mm.
ganon. So natututo din yung mga tao
And then
to
most likely they
appreciate.
will cook it and find out
Most
how they
likely,
can cook it well.
especially if you,
di ba?
you involve your kids into
Mm.
like planting and all,
Mm-mm.
most likely they will eat it.
Like for example, si Tito Toby, meron na siyang isang worker na maraming gabi, no? So, sako-sako yung pwede daw bilhin for 20 pesos per kilo. So, sige, kukuha kami ng gabi. So, we had to experiment how to use the gabi. Ang sarap pala na smoothie, no?
may iba, marami palang gamit.
Ang sarap pala niya, para meron pa ginawa kaming ice cream, hindi ba? So, you learn how to work with these items, parang mas nag-expand din yung knowledge natin from growing it to consuming it and preparing it, then it widens our, our diet list, menu. Masasarap pala yung mga ibang items.
So
talaga.
those who are involved in gardening right now, it's the best everything you do because you take control. You know exactly what comes into your mouth and the mouths of your children. Plus anything that's so close to you and you know what you did with it and how you process it makes a difference.
Even the taste is different.
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
When the food has so much flavor, Kunyari, most like now, maybe I'll share with them next time. We're growing in the middle of the hot summer. We're growing lettuce in La Union, fully exposed in the fields. Napakainit. Temperatures here are soaring.
Yeah.
Init-init. But yet we're growing spinach. We're growing to the max. Ang lalaki ng mga spinach plants.
So lush.
Oh, and labanos.
Tapos hindi ba yung ibang kinakain na nila as salad yung spinach.
Yeah, you
Fresh.
can eat it fresh.
Mm-mm.
You see, you don't have to worry about whether it was sprayed. It's not
Yeah.
sprayed. It's chemical free. And you grew it yourself. And you know what? The more the plants are exposed in such a setting, the more they develop their own.
Resilience.
Resilience.
Oh.
And the more resilient the type of food you're eating, the stronger its nutrient density of it. It's much better.
Mm-mm.
May konting pait nga, pero hindi naman ganun kapait eh.
Oo.
That it distorts the food you're eating. Parang, ay, ayoko na kainin to. Pait nito. No. Again, look at it. It has to do with the natural, the sun, the earth is clean, the water that you give to the plants. And us as human beings, the similarity of this, when you get things in a more natural basis, you expose yourself to good air, expose yourself to sunlight, you do your exercise, you breathe right, you eat well, sleep right, then no question of maintaining and having a strong immune system.
Actually, meron tayong different aspects. May physical immunity, meron din mental immunity by not dwelling on all the very sad and horrible news in the world. Keep your mind strong through, meditation and thinking of good things to do to help others. And of course, meron din tayong tinatawag na spiritual immunity.
Right.
No? How we protect ourselves from becoming too depressed, preventing ourselves from becoming very suicidal or even very negative about life in general. No, if we practice prayer, if you're always praying, have faith, strong faith in God, and always practicing meditation, reading sacred literatures, and listening to very uh, spiritual songs, then this will be very good in promoting spiritual immunity against negative things in this world. You know,
Oh, parang ano yan eh. You're, di ba, when you are an athlete,
uh,
di ba, you're always working out. You exercise connected training
mhm,
to boost all facets of your skill.
mhm.
Yeah, not just yung lakas ng katawan mo, but to refine your skill. And there's also, we should not forget this, that, kumbaga, as a spirit soul, we need that spiritual strength too,
Yes.
Mm-mm.
and that we need to be working out spiritually
Mhm,
on our daily
mhm.
basis, that we have practices that actually would bring about a real change so that our outlook in life becomes different. You become more appreciative, and responsible for taking care of the body that you have because it's your means, and making sure that the very activity that you're engaging in are actions that bring about a holistic health to a person's life.
Mhm.
You have a deeper meaning in life, diba?
Yes. You're motivated.
May purpose.
You are inspired.
Alright.
Di ba? You're very happy and fulfilled. Meron kang purpose eh. Di
In
ba?
life, yeah.
Kasi yung paggising mo pa lang, ano, marami akong pwedeng gawin today. Thank you, Lord, for giving me another opportunity to be of service to you and to others.
The inspiration is from within, so you become more, kumbaga, you take care of your health very well.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Because you begin to recognize that the body that you have is not yours. It's all part of a gift that you have received. And it's also the means for you to attain the very goal of why you have this human form of life.
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
So taking care of your body is one of it. Taking care of your environment is another.
Mm-mm.
Because it's all
Mhm.
intertwined, it's all interlinked, and you recognize that, I don't own my body, I don't own the world I live in. And my responsibility is to be a steward or render service to
Mm-mm.
that person or to the personality who's given me what I need to live my
Yes.
life.
Oh.
And that becomes my purpose. And then you begin to share that information to everybody else.
No. Yes.
So that the happiness, kasi yung ganyan, ang tanaw mo, ibang-iba eh. May saya ka sa loob eh. At lalim.
Mhm. And also, of course, just would like to add that, of course, aside from having a very good diet, sometimes we do need some supplements also to increase our immunity, just like vitamin C, or like myself, I like fresh calamansi in my food, and also taking VCO is known to actually help your immune system, no? And of course, marami pang bumabati sa atin hanggang ngayon. Si Lakbay Gulay and
Jen Shiva.
Jens, okay, and
Si,
Ver Enriquez. I learned a lot from you guys. Thanks a lot from Ver Enriquez from Zambales. More power to you. Thank you also,
And Eunice
Ver.
Andrada
Eunice.
from Baguio.
Yes.
And also Mary.
Mary.
Sabi ni Mary, it's happy to listen and hear again. It really motivates us to do everything right. Thank you very much.
Do you have any contribution or questions, please, do. Meron pa tayong time to tackle it. So,
In-
what do you think, Chris, ang ating mga discussion?
Okay talaga, and it's timely. It's very timely. I mean,
Oo.
we really gotta take care of our health. And not just our health, like they said, also our mental health
Yes.
as well.
And don't always be thinking on relying on, let's say, may vaccination. Vaccines will help,
Mhm.
but yet at the same time, the responsibility of our health and the health of our family is also in our hands.
to create lifelong changes in our habits, no? This is the time since hindi naman tayo makapag grocery every day or hindi tayo makakain sa labas every day. Now is the time to choose really good food, no?
Yes.
That you can prepare at home, whether it's salad or smoothies or simple soups and different dishes, no? This is a great time to learn.
Yes, and
Oo.
And
get your kids involved in the kitchen
Ah,
too.
yeah.
Kasi syempre, I
Yes.
know parents are having a hard time feeding their kids like nutritious food. You really gotta start them young.
Mhm.
Pag, when they're young, medyo yung taste buds nila hindi masyadong ano. That's why you can give them like mashed kamote, yung mga ganun. They accept it talaga. So just keep doing that. And later on, they will reap all these benefits from food and they will like it as well.
Mhm.
just as today, the education is more at home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Starts at home.
Mhm.
It's not like you rely on the schools outside that
Mhm.
you hope that your kids would eat the right food when they're in school. Na
Mhm.
pinagbaon mo, yung pala nag-exchange baon.
Kaya bibili sa kantin ng mga
Yung
chips.
ganyan.
Oo nga.
So, so many benefits of so many things that change and alter people's life. But the main thing is that we have to be always, kumbaga, on a bigger picture, live a life that is, kumbaga, there's an holistic view of what you're doing in the purpose that you have. And, caring for one another is very important, much more today than any time because of this pandemic. And don't, just because nabakunahan kayo doesn't mean magtanggal na kayo ng mask. Or
Sa Amerika,
forget
ganun
the
na daw.
social distance. May mga lugar sa Amerika ngayon,
Oo.
sinasabi nila,
You don't have to wear.
they don't have to wear. It's a choice.
As long as you're all vaccinated daw, still, you don't know if the vaccine is working for everybody.
Yes.
Di ba?
And you have to consider underlying issues too.
Oo, yes.
Mhm.
Oo.
So first of all, before we go, I just want to thank Chris for sitting in here, for Tita Marisa, and we hope that you guys have a very pleasant weekend, and always this weekend, on the weekends, and stay with your family and pray together, meditate together, read the scripture together. These are the best ingredients to a more deeper, meaningful life. And then you will find you love your neighbor as you love yourself. Take care of the environment, and because the environment has been there to look after all of us.
Yes.
And be thankful to our Creator, to God that loves us so unconditionally, and be thankful every day of your life.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very much.
everybody.
Thanks.
See you again next Saturday.
Pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, go Palakas!